Hey guys, it's Allie. Welcome back to Infertile AF, the podcast. This is episode 65 called Mathilde. So today's episode is sponsored by Prove, the first 5-minute at-home progesterone test to confirm ovulation. Progesterone is the hormone released after ovulation, and it needs to be elevated high enough for long enough to confirm successful ovulation. Problems with ovulation can make it difficult to get pregnant, but with Prove, you can figure out if you are ovulating successfully right from your very own home. This critical information can change the game when it comes to trying to conceive. What I love most about Prove is that it was invented by Amy Beckley, a PhD scientist and infertility warrior whose journey lasted 3 long years and included 7 miscarriages. She suspected that she was having trouble ovulating properly in her own journey, and lo and behold, she was right. She got a progesterone supplement to help and successfully conceived just a couple of cycles later. Her progesterone miracle is now 6 years old. So you guys know I love female-founded companies, and you know I love products that can truly help you go through this awful infertility road. So check out Prove. The best part is that they're giving Infertile AF listeners a special discount code. Go to provetest.com, enter the code INFERTILEAF20, and you'll get 20% off your very first order. Thanks, Prove. On today's episode, I'm proud to partner with NYU Langone Fertility Center, which performs over 3,000 fertility treatment cycles per year at their 2 convenient locations in Manhattan, New York. With more than 15,000 babies and counting, NYU Langone Fertility Center has been a world leader in providing compassionate and efficient fertility treatment since 1992. You guys, I'm not going to lie, that's the year I graduated from high school because I'm old. But anyway, NYU is amazing. And if you want some more information, you can call them at 212-263-8990, or you can visit their website, which is fertilityny.org, to get started. Again, it's NYU Langone Fertility Center, 212-263-8990, or visit their website at fertilityny.org. Thanks, NYU. Okay, guys, before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that in case you don't already know, Fertility Rally memberships are live. So we launched them about a week ago. Everything's going great so far. The Worst Club with the Best Members is up and running. It's an all-inclusive community created for everybody who's been touched by infertility, going through it themselves, loved ones of people going through it. We've got so much on the site, all these different groups that you can join, and you can create your own groups too. We've got so much blog content, resources, expert information, and then we have tons of virtual events. So each week it's different programming, and we would love for you guys to come check it out. So we've got a 7-day free trial for everybody. If you want to check it out, come to fertilityrally.com, and we hope to see you there. Thanks. Okay, so back to the podcast. Mathilde Froustey is such an amazing woman, and I'm so thrilled for you guys to hear my conversation with her today. She is a principal dancer at the San Francisco Ballet. She is one of the best dancers in the entire world. And today she is going to tell you guys all about her infertility struggles that she's still going through right now. So it's so interesting, and I'm so honored that she wanted to tell her story in depth here, because in the dance world, infertility is a really taboo subject. You know, as she says, it's really unspoken. It's something that nobody talks about. But she's going to talk about it today. So she's going to go into all of that. She's also touching on eating disorders that she witnessed and has experienced firsthand, how that plays into it, pressure she's felt from herself, her fellow dancers, her dance instructors. And then she's going to tell us just about life in general as one of the best ballet dancers in the entire world. So without further ado, this is Mathilde's infertility story. I'm so thrilled to talk to you today. I was I took a deep dive into your Instagram this week and I've been watching all your videos and oh my gosh, I mean, I
A
know
lot of ballet stuff.
it goes without saying, but you are just such a beautiful dancer and it like brings me to tears watching some of the stuff that you've put on. So thank you.
Thank
And
you.
I'm so excited to hear your story. But, you told me a little bit about it so far and how, in the dance world, infertility really is a taboo subject. So I love that you are coming out and talking about it and, breaking the stigma. And I can't wait to hear everything you have to say. So thank you, first of all, is what I want to say.
Oh, thank you, Ali. Yeah.
Are you nervous at all or do you feel okay?
No, I feel okay. It's just, it's just a big coming out in a way. Yeah. It's a big taboo in ballet, but I feel like with athletes in general. In ballet, you don't get pregnant or you don't try to get pregnant. You just eventually, if that happens, you get pregnant and you tell it after 3 or 4 months. And everybody is a little bit like looking like you as like, I'm so sorry, you're going to miss your season. Too bad, So there's been like something like that, a bit weird. So, I mean, it's like everybody when you're young and you start your career, you're like, please, I don't want to be pregnant. I don't want to be pregnant. I want to dance this role. And I might be fired if I'm getting pregnant. And then, when you want to be pregnant, then, it's a problem.
Right. So if you don't mind, I love to always start at the beginning. And well, first, I'd love to hear, how old were you when you started dancing and where were you? I should say that you are a principal dancer at the San Francisco Ballet. How long have you been there and where did you start out? Were you in France or were you always in the States or?
Well, yeah, I started ballet when I was 8 or 9, which is actually weird, but it's late. It's really late for ballet. Usually you start at like 4.
Sure. Yeah. My daughter started at like 2. Yeah.
Yeah. So I started at 9 or 8 and it was late.
What got you into it?
I was really, really tomboy and I couldn't stay straight. Like my back was tilted, and my mother wanted me to have a good posture. So she put me to ballet and I hated it. It was torture to me to go to those ballet class. And it was just once a week, 1 hour a day. And it was just horrible and I hated it. So I tried really my best to be fired and I succeeded. I got fired of the class and I had to wait an hour in the dressing room. Which was before iPhone and all those things. So it was really boring.
What did you do to get fired?
I just didn't pay attention and obviously wasn't paying attention at all. Didn't want to do any step. I was in the back. And my mom arrived and she was really upset I got fired. And she was like, well, just for you to know, I paid the whole year. So you can get fired every week if you want, but you're going to continue because I paid it all. So I'm like, shit. And she said, on top of that, you're not going to have your skateboard for a week. And I'm like, what? I was really tomboy. I was more into skateboard and stuff like that than ballet.
Wow. And where were you living at this time?
In southwest of France, near the Spanish border.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, shit. So the week after, I wanted my skateboard back, right? So I tried to pay attention and I didn't want to get fired of the class. And then I was like, well, I can do that. It's not that hard. It's not that painful. It's not that difficult. And then week after week, I was like, well, I actually like it.
Oh.
Yeah. So really, really fast because I was late. I got into a professional school, literally a year after my teacher was like, okay, she's gifted. She needs to go to professional school. And I'm like, oh, what? And she's like, yeah, that can be your job. I'm like, wait, you mean dancing around like that can be my job? I can just dance around and be paid? And they're like, yeah, pretty much. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll do that. And I was 9 years old and I decided that's going to be my life because at that time it was easy for me, honestly. I was really slim and, I had the perfect body for it. So it was just easy. When I arrived in professional ballet school, that was I discovered that, okay, well, that's not going to be as easy as I thought. And it's a real job and it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
So then that when I went to professional Paris Opera Ballet School, then I discovered I really tested my passion. Like, do I really want to do that, or is it just a game? And if it's just a game, you don't make it. Because literally every week, you have teachers telling you that you're fat, that you will never make it. Every year you get fired, or you have to redo the class, or you pass. Most of the time you get fired. But whenever one of the girls have, boobs showing up, you get fat, you have the fat talk, and so what we had to do, we had to put big piece of tape on a breast, because we didn't want our boobs to show up, so it was like really, really hard.
Yes. And were there a lot of eating disorders and things?
Oh yeah, we all had eating disorder. I mean, if ever we had cookies it was a boarding school, of course. If ever we had cookies, the teacher would, when we were at school during the day, they would come into your bedroom at night, your bedroom during the day, and take all the food we had. If we had cookies hidden under the bed, like it was like a jail, like literally like a jail, Wow. You couldn't hide any food.
Yes. What was it like with the other girls? Did you bond with them, or was it very competitive?
It was really competitive. The school is really competitive. It was hard to bond, and it was really hard. I made friends later when I was professional, when I joined the ballet company after I was 16 years old. But the school, I don't have a good memory of the school.
What can you tell me some stories about, like, what were the kinds of things that was there, like, would people like sabotage each other, or like, I'm sure everyone's trying to get the lead roles and all the dances and stuff, right?
Yeah. And it's funny because it's somehow more in ballet school than in professional companies. Kids are hard to each other.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was more like mean in the like, if somebody was like having boobs earlier than other one, we were like, I'm so sorry, you're gonna be fired.
Yeah.
It's bad. It's like those things. I remember it was terrible. I always been skinny, so in a way I was lucky. But my friend, we were at the cafeteria, the restaurant, and at night, and we take the tray and we just take the dish that is in front of us, and it was rice and chicken. So I take mine and she takes hers, and one of the teacher comes and take a plate out and put just vegetables in front of her on a tray, and that's it. And in front of the whole school, she was on the diet menu, but nobody talked to her, nobody tried to help her. She just like, no, you cannot eat that, you eat vegetables, that's it.
Wow.
Like, you're 13 years old or 14 years old,
right?
Like, how hard is that? So we all had eating disorder big time.
Right. Yeah, that's that's incredible. So tell me, so at 16 you joined the professional company?
At 16 I got my first contract, which was with Paris Opera Ballet, and I stayed there until I left Paris Opera Ballet when I was 28. So
okay,
for a while.
And you came to San Francisco at 28? Okay.
Yeah. So in Paris Opera, just quickly, it's a little bit like the army. You have like different grades, and every year it's a contest and you get promoted, and then you get to dance the roles. If you are at this grade, you'll have this role, and if you're higher, you have a better role. So I felt I was kind of stuck in Paris, and I started to be frustrated. And I think there is nothing worse for an artist than being frustrated. And I didn't want to be this person. So I was like, okay, I need to go away. And I always loved San Francisco Ballet. It was one of my favorite company. And also I loved it because it's really far from France. I don't think I could go further,
Right.
So I kind of like that. It was like an adventure.
So what were when you got to San Francisco, what's your day to day? Like how many hours a day are you dancing? And
we start the morning at 10, and it's like a warm up, like a ballet class all together that we're still doing on Zoom every day, despite, during this crazy time. And then after we go on rehearsals. When we don't have a show, we do 10 to 7 p.m. nonstop. So we don't have a break. We have 5-minute break every hour.
Wow.
So it's either you go to the bathroom or either you eat, but you cannot do anything. So most of the time we do it at the same time,
Right.
So a sandwich is like go for 3 days. I find like old sandwich in my dance bag. It's crazy.
Right.
And when we have shows, we start at 10 and we finish at 11 p.m.
Okay.
So it's like long days.
Yeah. And have you had any injuries along the way?
Oh, so many.
Right. I'm sure.
But that's part of the job, though. It's like when you're on point shoes, if your mind stops focusing for like a second, then you break your ankle. So I torn my ankles maybe 20 times each. I had like a bad knee injury, 2 feet surgery. I had, you name it, I had it. That's really part of the job. So we know that's going to happen.
Right. Have you ever wanted to give it up? Like, has it ever been just so hard that you wanted to quit or do something else, or?
Not really. First of all, because I always had this feeling that I don't know what to do else, what else to do. I stopped school. I was 14. So I really have no idea what to do. Like, dancing is the only thing I know in my life, which is horrible to say, but also great in a way.
No, it's amazing.
But so, yeah. And also, God, when you go on stage, well, it's like drug. I don't know. It's an addiction. When you go on stage once, even if you stop for a year because you're injured, which I did. Once I had to stop for a year and a half. But I had the taste of the stage, and this you never forget.
Right.
So it's always pushes you to go back.
Right. Yeah, I can imagine. So tell me, as a kid, you said you started dancing at 8 or 9. Did you always want to have kids? Did you think about the future and being a mom, or was that something that didn't really cross your mind when you were younger?
When I was younger, honestly, I didn't really think about it, but I remember I was always so proud of my mom is really young. She had me at like 20 or something. And I remember she would pick me up from school and I was so proud. She was so pretty and young. And, she was literally 15 years younger than all the other mothers. So she's really pretty on top of that. So yeah, I was super proud. And I was like, yeah, I would like to be a young mom like you. And it's so cool because we are best friends.
Right.
So I always wanted to be a young mom. But then I went into ballet and it was always really clear that I had to kind of make it before having a kid. I wanted to at least be in a place when my career was established before anything, because of this taboo or stigma about like, oh, you have kids, you're done. You're not going to be a dancer anymore. So I was like, okay, well, I'll wait when I find my place in this world, in this art world, and then I'll think about it.
As you were coming up and building your career and getting more and more successful and working so hard, was there, like, in the back of your mind, did you feel like the biological clock was ticking, or were you kind of just so career focused that you were able to kind of put that aside?
A few things. Yes, I always thought about this clock, but I was so career focused and my clock was like, okay, I need to dance this role before 28. And then I need to learn this technique before 30. And then, okay, going on 35, I need to know, but I think in a way it was also a way to not think about the biological clock and also not think about what, years of eating disorder when I was younger and working out so hard and being, of course, underweight, because when you a ballerina, you're underweight, would do to my body and would do to my fertility.
Right.
It was just a way to not think about it.
Right. I'd love to hear more, if you don't mind, about, when we were DMing a little bit and you were saying that in this world, you absolutely never talk about the wish to be a mother. So tell me about that. Like, you just kind of touched on it a little bit, but is it spoken? Like, do people say that, or is it just kind of an unspoken thing that you shouldn't talk about it? Or like what
No,
is it really like?
Yeah, it's really unspoken. There is this image of, if you have kids, then you'll be less focused and you'll be less willing to spend time in the studios. Like, I don't know a lot of jobs when you have to be there at 9 a.m. and the show finishes at 11. So the time to undress, take the makeup off, take the tutu off, and get changed. I never go out of the theater before midnight. So it's like, how are you going to do that if you have kids? Then you'll have to rush things and you'll have to maybe not do all the rehearsals you need to do, So it's something that nobody talks about it. And also there is this thing about, we're so body focused, like you have to be so in shape and so slim and so perfect. Then, having a baby means, okay, you have to get your body ready for that, maybe put some weight on, and then you will put some weight on, and then will you lose this baby weight? Like, all these things, so many things. Like, finally things are changing a little bit. So I have one or two friends who are principal dancer like me and had a baby, and they're like, oh my God, Mathilde, you know that. So, in ballet, we do a lot of jumps, and they're like, there is something that you cannot do right away when you come back after pregnancy, that the jumps, like, yes, you can't, like, technically you will pee on yourself, right?
Totally.
And I was talking with my friend, and she's like, well, the difference in between when the ballet director of the company is a guy or when it's a girl, it's a woman. Because the woman will, when you come back from having a baby, she will never ask you to do a solo when there is a lot of jumps. Because she'll know. But a guy will be like, yeah, you can do this part. And she's like, no, it's so much jumps. But you look in shape, you're good. You've been here for 3 months already. Yeah, but still, it's not ready yet, Right. So, like, all those things, like, nobody talks about it.
Totally. That's so funny. Yeah. So you have had people that you've worked with or danced with who have had kids and have come back. So it is possible.
It is possible.
It's probably just not very easy, right?
It's not easy. It's possible. It's changing. And I think the more ballerinas would be like, feel they can have baby, the better it's going to be,
Right. Well, I know that, again, you're taking a bit of a risk by telling the story. So I really appreciate it. And thank you for your honesty and like showing us into this world. So when did you start to try to have a baby and what happened?
So I've been on the pill since I'm basically 16 years old.
Okay. Were you ever scared that was going to make you gain weight? Because that's one of the things.
No, it's crazy. I think I have a weird body. I didn't put 1 pound, like nothing. Okay. Didn't even have more boobs, which I was kind of hoping in a little, in a way, because I literally have no boobs. And I was like, oh, I hope, I'll look a little bit like a woman. And no, nothing. So I went on the pill, and when was it? It was in 2017. I broke up with my boyfriend at that time, and I was like, well, I feel like being single for a little bit. So I think at the same time, I'm going to go off pill because it's been too long. And, I started to read about, fertility and all those things. I was like, I feel like I need to go off this pill. So I went off the pill and didn't have my period for like 9 months. And it was cool at the beginning. I was like, oh, that's great. Like, no period anymore. Yay.
Right.
And after 9 months, I was like, okay, well, maybe there's something wrong. So I went to, I was in France at that time for holiday, and I went to my doctor over there. And also, I can't remember what you say in English, gynecologist, we say in French. But
gynecologist?
Yeah. Okay, cool. You say the same in English.
Yeah.
And
it sounds so much better when you say it, but yes.
Thank you. And so she was like, well, no, it's normal when you go off the pill, and also you're an athlete, you're working too hard, body weight is a thing too. So we're just going to try something. She put me on the pill for like 10 days. And she said, if you have your period after that, then it's okay. Nothing's too bad. I took this pill. I got my period. Okay. I went back to San Francisco. And then I met my husband now, and about the same time. And I was like, well, of course we just met, so we didn't want kids right now, but I told him, listen, I don't have my period, so I don't think I need to take the pill anymore, because anyway, I don't have my period, so we don't risk anything.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, okay, fine. So 6 months passed again, still no period. So at that time, I'm almost like a year and a half. And I'm like, okay, well, this is really, really not normal.
Mm-hmm.
And we started to talk about, my husband is 51 and I'm 35. So I'm like, okay, well, we love each other really much, and let's try to have a baby. But first I need to have my period. So I went to the gynecologist here in America, in San Francisco, and we did all the tests possible. And she was like, well, few things, of course, the same thing, body weight, actually she said it could be the pill, but now it's been a year and a half, so she didn't really believe it was, the pill problem. Mm-hmm. So she said your hormone levels are all really low. So we can try if you want IUI, but I think you should go to IVF. But she said we can try Clomid and IUI, but I want a fertility doctor opinion first. I'm like, okay. So it was a big. Also, you have to know something, that it's hard to go to a doctor when you don't speak totally fluently the language.
Sure.
Like, I had no idea what she was talking about.
Right.
IUI, IVF. In France is FIV, FIV. So IVF was like, wait, what she's talking about? Is it FIV she's talking about?
Right. So I never thought about that. Yeah.
Everything is different.
All the acronyms and the letters and the abbreviations and
I have to say that I learned so much more since I'm listening to your podcast than all those months of talking to fertility doctors, because they assume I understand what they say, but literally sometimes I would call my doctor and I had no clue what she said.
Right.
I'm like, oh my God, I wish I spoke English, because that seems really interesting what she was talking about my ovaries, but I didn't get anything.
Right.
So that's made it challenging also.
I love that you listen to the podcast. Thank you.
I listened to every single episode.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Every single from the beginning. So so when she said, she was the first one telling me, okay, you need to see a fertility doctor. So of course, like, crying and stuff, and oh my God, what's happening? Right. It was like this big thing about, I'm always been really successful in my job. Yeah. I got promoted, and principal dancer. Everything I wanted, I had it, and I worked really hard for it. And then I think it's the first time something or somebody or whatever wasn't the best, wasn't successful. Like, I'm used to be the best, Yeah. I'm trained to be the best. And she was telling me that I wasn't the best at possibly being pregnant. And I was like, no, this is not possible. I was raised to be the best. Totally. So it was a big, slap in the face.
Absolutely. That's so interesting that you say that, because it's so true. And, anybody going through infertility knows that. It's, I've said this before, it's like studying your ass off for a test and you get an F, you fail, it's just. And obviously you've worked so hard your whole life to, like you said, be the best. And it's worked in every area except for this one, right?
Yep.
That's amazing.
And then suddenly you're like, all right, okay, well, I'm one of the best dancer in the world, whatever. But what it is, if I cannot have a baby, like, and, it's like spinning in my head. It was like, okay, well, I worked so hard to be this dancer, but at the same time, I destroyed my fertility.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like my happiness made me so unhappy, right? It's making me so unhappy right now. Like, I did that to myself. Like, I destroyed it myself because I worked too hard, because I wanted to be too slim, and because like I did that to myself. It's not like I listened to your podcast and there is people who have disease and stuff. I didn't. I just did it to myself. And that's like super hard. And I went to this time also when that's funny when you asked me earlier if I wanted to, if I ever thought about stopping dancing. And that's the only time when I was like, I want to stop dancing, because I would go to the studio and rehearse all day. And I was like, it's because I'm doing that, then I cannot have a baby. Like, I hate what I'm doing right now. I hate this job that destroyed my life. And like, it was like a really dark time.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
I couldn't even stand being on stage. Like, I was like, all those people, these 3,000 people in the audience. And I'm like, all those people, they are like coming to see me dance, but it's because I'm doing that, then I cannot have a baby. And all those people, they have babies, you know?
Yeah.
So it's just like horrible.
Wow. That's so intense. I'm so sorry that you feel that way, or that you felt, that felt that way. That's really rough.
Yeah, it was a rough time. Yeah. But then I went to PCF. I've seen like you actually Pacific Fertility Clinic, actually, PFC. Sorry, all in French reversed,
No, that's okay.
And they're really awesome.
Yes, they are. That was my advertiser this week.
Yeah, I know. I've seen that.
Oh, I didn't know that you work with them. I love them. They're so great.
Yeah, really. They've been nothing but amazing from like the first day. And I don't know, even the doctor came to see me dance and stuff. Like, we are super. They're really awesome. And yeah, we talked and decided then we would try first IUI, because in the meantime, I started to take all those like pills and, stuff, and do all this, like, as you call it, woo-woo stuff, and acupuncture and everything. And I have to say, I don't know why. I don't know if I suddenly, because I had a hard time working at the ballet, this dark time, I took it a little bit slower. I don't know what it is, but my hormone levels came up a little bit. It was much better. So she was like, well, let's try Clomid and IUI and we'll see. So we were almost ready to start, but then the fertility clinic, they always call me and say, hey, Murad, my husband, needs to do his semen analyze, right? Because we're not going to do it if he needs to do this test. And I'm like, yeah, I keep on telling him, but he's a guy and he doesn't want to do that. And I'm like, well, there is no, he has to do it. I'm like, okay, cool. Thank you for your help. Okay.
Right.
So I'm like, hey, love, you need to do it. And he's like, no, I'm not doing that. Okay, listen, how many ultrasound did I do? Like, how many acupuncture? Like, I think you can do that. It's not too hard,
Right.
So anyway, he finally did it. And we had kind of a bad news, and his results were actually really bad. The motility was like, so bad. It's supposed to be around 50 and his number was like 5, which is weird. So we called the doctor and she was like, well, we see this kind of number only with obese people or really, really heavy smokers, like, or drinker. Murad never had alcohol of his life and he never had cigarettes of his life, and he's like super slim. So we were like, okay, so that's none of that. So he did a genetic testing to see if there was like, they call that genetic fragmentation. And it was a lot of it. So that was also really bad news, because that pretty much says we cannot use his sperm.
Okay.
That if we used his sperm, it would be a lot of genetic disease. Okay, so we don't want that.
Yeah.
So we're
wow, that must have been hard to take.
Yeah, and that was like, it was a switch though in the couple a little bit, because
sure,
the broken, and I'm making this sign with my hands at the same time. The broken one was me this whole time. And then suddenly it was not only me, it was a little bit him was broken too.
Right. Did that make you feel a little less hard on yourself and a little less guilty?
Yeah, it's so weird to say that. And I think you're the first person that I'm saying that to, but yes, it made me feel better. That's so weird, but it totally made me feel better.
I think that's super human of you to feel that way. I would have felt the same. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it was like this, we were in the car. I remember when we took this call from the PFC, and I remember I was super quiet and my head was spinning. And after the call, Murat did this like super sweet thing, and he hugged me and he was like, I'm so sorry. And from this day, I was like, okay, this is not okay. We have to stop being sorry. It's not our fault. Mm-hmm. It is not your fault. It is not my fault that we are broken. Mm-hmm. And we have to stop apologizing, because what if I get pregnant and I have a miscarriage? I don't want to apologize because it's not going to be my fault. Like, we need to stop apologizing. Yeah. So we made this pact that whatever happens, we're not going to apologize because it's not our fault. And
I love that.
Yeah, I really remember that was a strong day for us, like a really bonding, day.
Yes. And probably a turning point in your relationship too, where the blame is suddenly thrown out the window and it's just like, let's get through this together.
Yeah. And I think also, like for guys, there is a little pride, about like, your sperm or whatever. And
totally.
I think that was the end of it. We were like, okay, whatever happens, and it's not our fault.
Right.
So, yeah.
So can I ask you, do you know anybody else who is a ballet dancer who has gone through IVF or any of this stuff?
Nobody. And nobody is talking about it.
And you're not telling anybody.
And I went through this whole thing without telling anybody.
Okay.
And that's why I decided to talk about it, because it's impossible that I am the only one going through it. Mm-hmm. It's literally impossible. I see all the other dancers, we all had eating disorder and working too hard. Like, I see my friends, like, nobody has regular period. Like, I am not the only one who's going through it. And I wish people dancer or athletes could actually talk more freely about it and be like, if somebody had told me when I was 20, hey, Mathilde, don't work too hard, eat better food. Okay, don't try to lose weight. I mean kilos, but don't try to lose pounds when you actually look great, because after you're going to have to go through IVF, trust me, I would have liked it. I would have been like, oh yes, okay, cool.
Right.
But nobody told me that. So I just hope that I can, avoid people to make mistakes with their fertility by working too hard or being on a diet too strict,
Absolutely. You're definitely going to be changing lives by people that will listen to this, for no doubt about it, for sure. So thank you for that. Another thing you said that I thought was so interesting was, so you're doing these shots and you're still dancing 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
And you told me that you would be like crying in the wings of the stage.
Yeah.
So tell me about that. I mean, obviously it's hormones and it's everything you're going through, but God, that must have been so hard.
Yeah, that was not easy. But first, we ended up using Murat's sperms because we decided so we went to see this like amazing fertility doctor in San Francisco who works with PFC, and they're so lucky. Our sperm like regenerates every 3 months. So he took this really strong treatment, and he got tested again 3 months after. And the doctor said, okay, well, your sperm is so much better. You can try IVF with your sperm.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So we ended up using his sperm. So that was the good news.
Oh, that was a twist I wasn't expecting. Okay. Okay.
So that was really awesome. But what was funny is in the meantime, I went to all the sperm donors website in San Francisco. And San Francisco is all based with like technology and like dating app and all those apps.
Yep.
And I got so surprised. Like if you want sperm, it's so easy. It's like a dating app. You do your profile and you can choose everything. You can choose the sense of humor. You can choose the level of education.
Right.
You can choose if you want curly hair. It's awesome. Like I was like, listen, if you want to use yours, I'll do that. This app, it's really awesome.
I'm going to just have fun playing around with the app here, picking That
was funny. That like kind of made me laugh for 3 months. In the meantime, we were waiting for this result, but we ended up using his stem.
Okay.
And so we got started in February with the shots. And since I decided to not tell anybody, I was doing the shot and then rehearsing all day, wearing a tutu and a leotard, which is basically like a swimming suit, right? And being for 10 hours in front of mirror. And I mean, you remember, right? When you do those shots, the last thing you want is wearing a swimming suit in front of 3,000 people.
Absolutely.
And looking at yourself in the mirror all day, you know?
And did you notice your body was changing physically?
Yeah, I put like 7 pounds in 12 days, which, you know, it's not that much if you think about it, but when you use every single muscle the way we use, like you can feel it. And also I was like my stomach was like puffy, you know, like bloated. Yeah.
Were people saying anything to you?
Yeah, I did. It was funny. So I did got the fat talk.
You did?
So
from
it
who?
was after this rehearsal from one of the ballet master. So one of the teacher of the ballet. It was after rehearsal. And so one of the side effects of those shots also is like you have cramps, but not only in your ovaries, you have cramps in your legs, you have cramps everywhere. You like really, you feel out of shape, like globally, and you can't breathe. Like I remember being like out of breath, you know, all the time and sweating a lot. And so after rehearsal, it didn't go that well because, you know, I think I was like at day 8 or whatever. It started to be intense. And he took me on the side, which is, you know, never a good sign. And it's like, Mathilde, I need to talk to you. Like, I don't know what's happening to you. You are really out of shape and maybe you don't work hard enough. You need to be more focused. Also, you don't seem focused. Like, you need to pull yourself together. Like, the show is in 5 days. Like, if it doesn't get better tomorrow or the day after, like, I'll have to take you out of the show. And I'm like, tomorrow I'll have another shot. So I'm telling you, it's not going to get better. You know, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
But
were you able to say that?
I couldn't tell that. No, I was like, yeah, sure. I'll lose like 7 pounds by tomorrow. Yeah, sure. That's what's going to happen. So I didn't say. Then we started stage rehearsals. It was before the show. And I was in the wings and I was like crying because, you know, it's hard to dance in front of 3,000 people on a normal day, but high on hormones, you literally want to kill yourself.
I cannot even imagine, literally.
I was hysterical. Like, I would like laugh so hard and cry, and like they couldn't fit me in the tutu. So I like started to scream on my dresser. I'm like, this tutu is not mine. I used to fit in my tutu. And she's like, no, Mathilde, this is your tutu.
Oh my God.
Your name is on the tutu.
Okay, you need to make all of this into a movie, by the way.
Yes, I would love to. So she was like, no, Mathilde, that's your tutu. And I'm like, this is impossible. Try harder. And she would like try to close it in my bag, but it would not close.
Oh my God.
And I was like, okay, it's okay. I'm just going to wear it open. And she's like, no, you can't wear your tutu open. Like, it's okay. I'll give you another one bigger. And like, no way. I would only dance with my tutu. Well, it was pretty bad.
Amazing. Were you ever tempted to just be like, I'm doing fucking IVF, like blow up at somebody? Or
yeah, I did by so I had to actually tell one person by the end because I was going to have the ritual. The eggs ritual, and I wasn't going to be at the ballet on that day. And of course, they had scheduled me for a show on that day. And I honestly, you know what, the weirdest thing. So my egg retrieval was at 8 a.m. and I was so tempted. Like I was like, I think I can do the show at 8 p.m.
Oh my God.
I think I can totally do it. Like I'll just do my egg retrieval and then I'll show up at the ballet and then I'll do the show. No problem.
Oh my God.
And then I talked with the doctor at PFC and they told me, listen, that's not a good idea.
No.
You can't do the show at night. It's not a good idea. Like you're not going to enjoy it. You're going to be in pain. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'll take one day. So I had to tell them then I would miss this day. And it was after my trigger shot and I was going to come up with a fake excuse or come up with something that, but I was so sensitive and high on hormones that I couldn't hold it. I was like, listen, I'm not going to be here tomorrow. And it's like, well, you can't miss tomorrow. I'm like, okay, here what's happening. And I told this person, which was this ballet master who gave me the you out of shape talk.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, well, you're doing that, but you're going to miss tomorrow. Okay, that's fine. But you have to wake up earlier and do a warm-up class before the egg retrieval. And like that, you'll be less out of shape in 2 days. And I'm like, I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. to do a ballet class. I'm sorry.
So this is a guy ballet master?
Yeah, and this is a guy ballet master, of course. Yeah.
Do you think it would have been different if it was a woman?
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course it would.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got the egg retrieval and the day after I was at the ballet.
So you did take the day off, thankfully, right?
Yes.
But you were back the very next day?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's insane.
And how was it?
It was painful, but I was happy. I did it. I was still, like you still have all those hormones in your body. So I was still super sensitive, but I was really happy I did it. I think I was kind of proud of myself. Mm-hmm. It seems like a big achievement.
Absolutely.
So
this was just a couple of months ago, right?
Yeah, that was in February.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did the retrieval go? Like, how many eggs did they get and all that? And
So I was really happy because the whole shot time, they were like, yeah, you don't have a lot of eggs. I mean, so they were like, okay, maybe 6 or 7. They ended up taking 13, which I was super surprised. Mm-hmm. On the 13, 10 were mature, and then 9 got fertilized. And then, you every day you lose some,
right? Which
it's so weird. Like every day you connect to this app, again, an app, we're in San Francisco. And and then you see, okay, today I have 8. Okay, today I have 7. Oh, wow, the big drop tomorrow. It's only 5. Like, it's just like, it was so stressful. Yeah. But also it seems so irreal,
Totally.
You just see a number and you're like, is it really my eggs? Is it really my future? Is it really possibly some babies?
I never had the app. Things have changed a lot, even in the last, 6-7 years. It's crazy.
Yeah. But you know what? In a way, I like better having the app because one day somebody called me from the clinic and again, I couldn't understand anything she said.
Oh yeah.
I was like, what? Can you send me an email? Because I don't understand what you're talking about.
Exactly.
So it was actually helpful for me to have,
Right.
And so we ended up sending 4 eggs to the genetic testing. Mm-hmm. And, by that time I Googled so many things and all the things. And I was like, well, after the genetic testing, it's so little percentage of it will pass it, So if they tested 4, then I'll be lucky if I have 1. Mm-hmm. And that's what the doctor said also because of Murad's history of genetic fragmentation,
Right.
So honestly, I was really almost ready to do another round of IVF, of shots. I was like, okay, well, it's okay. It was a first try. Right. And then the doctor called us. And I remember that day, I had totally forgotten they would call us. We were like arguing in the car. And then I received this call and I'm like, oh shit, that's today. That's the result. And I'm like, okay, we need to pull ourselves together. Well, I was literally screaming in the car. I don't know. I was upset or something.
Uh-huh.
And so we like shut up, and suddenly she said we had 3.
Whoa.
So it's amazing that we got 3 good out of 4.
Right. So 3 healthy embryos that had been tested. Okay.
Yeah. And 3 girls.
Oh, wow. Did they tell you right then that it was 3 girls?
Yeah. We wanted to know.
Okay.
Not that I wanted to choose. I wanted them to transfer the strongest,
yes,
they say.
Right.
But, as a curiosity.
Absolutely.
At that point, you know what? I learned so much about myself, then I can know that,
Absolutely. Yeah.
The inside of myself doesn't have any secret anymore.
Totally. What's happening now?
So, well, by all the testing, it takes 3 weeks. It was like beginning of March. And then the COVID happened, right? So
okay.
We were, I think at that point, I had decided to wait the end of the ballet season. So the ballet with the season, so from July to December, it's what we call the off season. So it's only rehearsals. So we learn new ballets, we go on tour, we create new ballets, but we don't really go on stage in San Francisco. And from January to May, we have 7 shows a week. Right. Beginning of March, they canceled the whole season. So that's why we've been training.
Gotcha.
With Zoom and
oh right, I saw the video where you had gotten like the flooring.
Yeah,
and you were doing.
Yep.
Okay.
But when we got the result of the testing with Morad, we had decided, okay, I'm going to finish the ballet season. That was before COVID, and we'll do it after the ballet season because, when they do the transfer, doctor told me I need to take it easy for at least 2 weeks, no ballet, no jumping, no high extensions for 2 weeks. And I'm like, I'm going to be in the middle of the season. I don't want to feel guilty trying to have a baby. And I feel like if I do that while I'm supposed to dance, it's not going to be good karma because I'll feel guilty and I don't want to send these vibes, down there. So
totally.
I'll wait the end of the season, which it's May. So it's like right now. Right. So right now it's just hard with this whole COVID thing.
I know.
I'm an artist and Murad is a chef. He owns restaurants and is a chef in those restaurants. And we both work in 2 jobs that really, really affected by COVID. Yes. Financially. And also the future is so insecure for him and for me. So it's just so hard because when this COVID started and the ballet got canceled, I was happy. I was like, yeah, we can do the transfer right now. Right. And I remember talking to Murad and I was like, hey, so because I don't have to dance anymore, can we do the transfer now? And he's like, are you kidding me, Mathilde? And I'm like, what? And he's like, I don't have a job anymore. My restaurants are all bankruptcy and the ballet is canceled. Like, do you really think that's the best time to have a baby right now? And I'm like, okay. So it was a hard moment because I realized that this COVID thing affected both our works and also our private life because of that we had to wait. So it's been hard. It's been really hard. Yeah.
There's so much waiting anyway. And then add this freaking COVID on top of it and just adding more uncertainty. And I would imagine, not to put words in your mouth, but you're such a controlled person and disciplined. So to have something be out of your control where you literally can't do anything about it right now must feel really terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. But also it's,
Yeah. But
I wish in a way I wanted to tell him, he doesn't listen to your podcast and he's really busy. And when I started this whole IVF process, honestly, I had no idea. I had no clue what it was. IVF, I didn't even know what it means.
Yeah,
like,
I didn't either.
Doctor told me for 30 minutes. They told me IVF, and for me, IVF in French is FIV, F-I-V.
Right.
So I was like, what she's talking about?
Right.
I need to do IVF. What? Like, so I just enter, like everybody was entering this IVF world. It's all new, but I learned so much listening to your podcast, to be honest.
Oh, that's good.
And also I listened to all those women's story, and I know that the chance of me doing the transfer and having a baby right now is so small.
Well, you never know. I mean, it's really, I mean, I feel like there's so many factors that go into it, and there's so much, there's a little bit of like luck involved, I believe, as well. And, it sounds like at least, you've got these embryos that are sitting on ice, right? Waiting for you.
I know.
So,
but I just want to tell him, like, listen, there was a big chance that I'm not going to be pregnant right now. So it can be for years and years and years. So we might as well just try now, because I'm listening to all this amazing women's story on your podcast. And some people, it took years. So I'm like, let's just start now, because we're just losing time right now.
So the fact is that the clinic would do it. It's just, he's not ready right now.
I think he will be soon. I think we're gonna do it soon.
Okay.
I think he's just scared. He's scared,
Yes. Totally.
Guys, I don't know if it's guys or whatever, but he has this idea of like providing for the family.
100%.
And I think right now he's having restaurants in America. They're having such a hard time.
Yes.
And it's literally no money at all, like nothing.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm 51. I waited all my life to have a kid, and now I'm gonna have a kid at the worst moment of my life.
Right.
The moment when we couldn't even pay the rent last month. So it's like, Mathilde, we can't pay the rent, or are we gonna have a baby right now? And I'm like, yeah, you have a point. But,
the only thing I can say is there really is never a perfect time to do it. And, not that that's going to change his mind or anything, but I mean, I feel like you're right. Like time, it's hard. It's so tricky because you don't want to rush it, but you've been waiting so long, and it does get harder, the longer you wait, and it might take a couple of times, but maybe not, you never know. So I get it. I totally get it. And I'm sorry that there's so much uncertainty.
And it's funny because I'm only also, so I listened to, I think it was Ellie, the woman, she's American and she lives in France.
Yes.
It was on the first season, I think.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm like a podcast freak.
I love it.
And so she had IVF in France, and it's funny because I think in November, I went back to France, and since I was there for 2 weeks, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to see doctors in France, and I'll do acupuncture and all those things in France. I don't want to lose time, That's a big thing in me also. And talking to doctors in France, saying like, I'm 34 and I'm like old and stuff, like, my time, I'm on the clock, and they're like, no, you're only 34. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So there is such a big difference between doctors in France. Like, you're 34 and you're doing IVF. They're like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Then here in America, every time I talk to a doctor, they're like, 35.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're on the edge. I'm like, what are you talking about?
They're like, you old ass lady. Yeah, I know.
So
it's rough.
But also Murad is 51. And I know for guys it's less important, but it's more a matter of like, I want him to get to spend time with his kids.
Totally.
Or kid, whatever we'll have. So we do have a clock,
Okay. Well, I'm rooting for you so hard. Before we get off, I wanted to ask, since coming out with this story, you've talked about it a little bit on Instagram, and I don't know about if anywhere else, but when this comes out, it'll be out there even further. Have you gotten any backlash from anybody, or like, are you nervous about any sort of reactions you're going to get from like the dance community or anything like that? I mean, I would hope not, because you're doing a good thing by telling your story. But I wonder if
I was really surprised by how many messages I got. Like it was nonstop for like 2 weeks. It was nonstop messaging on Instagram, on Facebook, all over by dancers, and also just people following me on Instagram saying like, oh, I went through the same thing. Oh, like people that I knew, I had no idea.
Okay.
Also,
so it's been a good response.
It was amazing. Also, because of Murad's chef world, so many chefs' wife email me and say like, oh, I did the same thing. And then like, just amazing. It's been amazing. I didn't hear anything from the ballet. My ballet company, like my boss and the ballet master, anything.
Right.
It's just by saying that you want to be pregnant in the ballet, you give a message saying like, oh, then I'm not going to cast her for this role because she has other priority.
Yeah.
And you know what? Yes, I do have other priorities. I want to be pregnant. So I didn't tell it because I didn't want to not be casted on this role or this ballet or whatever, or not be chosen by this choreographer. But it was hypocritical. I do not want to be casted and I do not want to dance this role. I just want to be pregnant. And I think that was the coming out for me. Yeah. It was not, oh, I did IVF, blah, blah, blah. It was, listen, this is my priority. And I love ballet, I love dancing, but it has been my priority since I'm 8 years old. Right now, I have a few years and that's going to be my priority. And yeah, I think that was my coming out.
Oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Thank you.
I'm so sorry that it's been so hard, but you're so amazing. And thank you so much for sharing all this with us.
Thank you for talking to me.
Hey again, guys. Oh my God, I love that conversation so much. And she's just the coolest. And I'm so proud of her for coming out and getting into all the details of that and for just sharing her story to help other people. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Mathilde, thank you again for everything. And I will talk to you guys next time.